America's divided as ever.
Castro to the rescue?
Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America. Okay. So I was actually coming from Walmart. I was trying to find some plants and I couldn't find any. So I had to go to the Jamaican store.
Yep.
And I was listening to, I think it was Tim Pool or Anthony Brian Logan. I'm not sure. But I heard about this situation. I couldn't believe it. I was like, nah, that didn't really happen.
Oh, no.
But surely enough, it has happened. So there's a guy named Julian Castro.
Okay.
I think that's his name. He's running for president.
Okay.
He was Obama's HUD guy, and now he's running for president. And his brother's name is Joaquin.
Okay.
And so Joaquin Castro, over the last couple days, posted this. Sad to see so many San Antonians as 2019 maximum donors to Donald Trump. The owner of Bill Miller Barbecue, owner of Historical Pearl, realtor Phyllis Browning, etc. Their contributions are fueling a campaign of hate that labels Hispanic immigrants as invaders. He then goes on to list the names and the employers of the people that donated to Trump.
Oh my God, how could he, is that public?
It's basically open source. It's technically not a form of doxing. Doxing is basically an act of, social war. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic, but doxing is basically where you put out on the internet the person's name, address, phone number, whatever. And
Yeah.
It's basically, hey, whatever. Now, this information was basically open source, but you had to go search for it. So he posts this.
Yikes, okay.
And it's just a terrible look. Now, the irony of the whole thing was, I believe somewhere between 3 to 6 of these donors that he outed also supported his campaign.
Oh no!
So this whole anybody who supports Trump is automatically a racist, right? The Christine, Gillibrand, she said this where she was like, I'm gonna go to the suburban neighborhoods with the white people and tell white women about white privilege who voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. And I believe that would have been the statement that got focused on after the debate, but it didn't because of Tulsi Gabbard's ridiculously amazing takedown of Kamala Harris. So that took center stage. But it's this idea that the left has that the only reason a person would support Donald Trump is if they're an avowed racist. But of course, this doesn't explain logically how 3 to 6 of these donors also donated to you, Mr. Castro.
Right.
Or your brother.
Right, exactly.
That tells me that Americans are going to put their support behind people who they believe will help them. Because we're all in a pretty desperate situation in this country. Obamacare left 30 million people uninsured. Prior to the Trump administration, we were having employment issues, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's the continual determination. The left is determined to not understand why they lost.
I know.
And they are determined to hand Mr. Trump 2020. They're just determined. The left is determined to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
It's so weird because they're always saying Trump was working with the Russians.
Sadak.
I'm beginning to think Trump is working with the left.
Yeah. I have said this and I believe it. I believe that there are Trump agents on the left side of things because this stuff is just mind-boggling. Like, wouldn't you do if you're going to do something as horrible as that,
yeah.
Wouldn't you do your research, Mr. Castro, to find out where else these people have donated? What in the world?
Embarrassing.
It's ridiculous! You dummy! Some of them voted for you and your brother, you idiots! And they put their money where their mouth was. But you know what you just did? You just radicalized those people, because now those people are not going to support you or your brother or anybody on the left. They're going to exclusively support Trump because of your silliness. You dummy! I shouldn't say that. Scripture says you shouldn't speak evil of a rule of your people. I'm pretty sure that this guy he's a congressman, or at least he's trying to be a congressman. So, of course, Trump...
Not yet.
Trump, Trump.
Yeah.
We've just had a terrible national tragedy. Dozens and dozens of our countrymen and women and children have been injured and killed. Many more dozens are, maimed, etc. And all of us are psychologically traumatized by this situation. But Trump is not going to let that go unanswered. So how does Trump respond? The president of the
What did he say?
the president.
I'm having a hard time not to read. Hurry, tell me what he
The president
said.
of the United States of America. I do not know who Joaquin Castro is, other than the lesser brother of a failed presidential candidate, 1%, who makes a fool of himself every time he opens his mouth. Joaquin is not the man that his brother is, but his brother, according to most, is not much. Keep fighting, Joaquin.
Oh my word!
This is a leader of the free world. Look, if you wrote a sitcom about a president, and you invented Trump, I'd say, bull. There is no way.
I'd be like, they went way too far.
This is completely hyperbolic and just ridiculous. Some of this stuff is just.
It's like
you are the brother of a failed
Office?
Presidential candidate.
You know The Office. You're looking at him and you're like, that's a bit too far. I mean, you're gonna fire somebody falsely.
What's the guy's name again?
The only thing that comes to mind is Mike, but that's not
Michael. Yeah, Michael Scott.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, this just in. Donald Trump is a Michael Scott.
Yeah, he's the Michael Scott of America.
But let me tell you something. All you liberals who are sleeping on Trump, this is a very top tier diss right here. I mean, I don't know who you are other than the lesser brother of a failed presidential candidate. 1%. You're half the man your brother is, and he's not much.
Oh my God.
This is happening on the stage of the world. This is where we are. On the stage of the planet Earth, here we are. You're supposed to be the leader of the free world, and you couldn't even let one sneak disc, you couldn't let it go.
No.
Not even 7 days have gone by, Mr. President, from this horrible tragedy this horrific weekend that we've had. Yeah. But you couldn't let it go. You couldn't let it go. Okay. But to go back to Mr. Castro, this, on the one hand, it's kind of funny that he outed people, many of whom voted for him and his brother, with their wallets, him and his brother. But on another hand, this is the type of stuff that the left, this is one of my major criticisms from the left, is that they refuse to hold each other accountable. Yeah. If that happened on the right, where a right-wing politician went and outed a bunch of people who supported a particular candidate, they would go crazy about it. As a matter of fact, one of the justifications that the Antifa fascists used for attacking that reporter was that he doxed someone. And so they beat the hell out of this kid and gave him brain hemorrhage. And their justification was, well, he doxed someone and that's dangerous. Well, what do you call this? Now, I get it. It's not technically doxing. But considering our current cultural milieu, putting those names out there like that for all to see is an absolutely dangerous, horrific thing to do. And if you think I'm joking, if you think I'm exaggerating, listen to this. So here is Reza Aslan, and Reza Aslan is he's a leftist, and he's an extremist in my opinion. Listen to what he said. After today, there's no longer any room for nuance. Wrong. This is the time for nuance. The president is a white nationalist terror leader. Here we go.
Wow.
He's a white nationalist terror leader with a Jewish daughter and a Jewish son-in-law. His daughter actually is not Jewish by birth. She converted to Judaism and took on the name Jael as part of her ceremony to enter into Judaism, and because she married Alan Kushner, who's a Jew and a practicing one. No white nationalist is going to give their daughter to a Jew. As a matter of fact, here we go. Here's a leader of Unite the Right talking about Donald Trump and why he has a problem with him.
Somebody like Donald Trump who does not give his daughter to a Jew.
So Donald Trump, but like more racist.
A lot more racist than Donald Trump. I don't think that you could feel about race the way I do and watch that Kushner bastard walk around with that beautiful girl, okay?
So he's not a white nationalist. He's not. And if you say that, you're being dishonest. Reza Aslan. The president is a white nationalist terror leader. Okay. His supporters, all of them, all caps, are by definition white nationalist terror supporters. So that includes the black folks that support Trump. That includes the Hispanics who Trump did surprisingly well with last election, by the way. All those people are white nationalist terror leader supporters. The MAGA hat is a KKK hood. And this evil racist scourge must be eradicated from society.
Whoa.
What are you talking about,
That's
Mr.
some
Aslan?
inflammatory language there.
What do you mean?
Incite violence.
What do you mean this scourge must be eradicated from society?
Yeah.
You know, I haven't heard a lot of leftists calling this guy out on his incitement of violent behavior.
Wow.
But Trump says that Baltimore is infested with rats, and somehow that's racist. But stereotyping the millions of people who voted for Trump as racists who support white terrorism, who also need to be eradicated. That's language that Hitler used. That's ethnic cleansing language. Where are all the leftists? You were telling me that you could see the racism in Mr. Trump saying, echoing what everybody who's been to Baltimore has said about that particular district. You were telling me that was racist. Why don't you talk about this? It's the same BS that happened with Sean King after that Antifa guy went and unsuccessfully tried to liberate those migrants from the concentration camp, and he showed up with an M4 and a Molotov cocktail, and he got in a shootout and he died. And then Sean King, instead of saying, yo, we need to tone this down, said, that guy is right and we need more of them. Why is the left, and it's really funny to me about Twitter. I haven't read anything. Maybe somebody else can show me, but to my knowledge, Twitter has not banned this guy. So I'm sorry, but this is not the time to be using language like this. You know, 8/4/19. Isn't that when it happened on the 4th? Isn't that when the shootout happened? So the bodies haven't even been identified yet. And there's Reza Aslan. Yeah. That's Sunday. That's Sunday at 7:30 p.m. There's Reza Aslan talking about eradicating a whole group of people, stereotyping them and eradicating them. So that happened on 8/4, and then a couple days later, this Joaquin guy goes out and puts all the names of the Trump supporters. What if some deranged idiot put those two tweets together, Mr. Aslan, Mr. Castro? Y'all are going out and getting people killed out here. This is ridiculous. And by the way, if anybody wants to tell me, now look, here's a voice of reason. So here's Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne Conway was Trump's, basically, she was Trump's main campaign strategist.
Yes, I remember her. Yep.
Okay? And she basically got Trump elected because she came up with with a couple ideas that were very, very helpful.
Yep. Trump
actually fired his previous campaign manager and took her on, and it was a good call on his part, obviously, because they won. Listen to how she responded. She responded to the current situation that we're in. Go ahead.
We need to come together, America. Finger pointing, name calling, and screaming with your keyboards is easy, yet it solves not a single problem, saves not a single life. Working as one to understand depraved evil and to eradicate hate is everyone's duty. Unity, let's do this.
That is exactly the message that we need. We need to put aside all of our beefs with one another as far as left wing, right wing, black, white, blah, 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 and say our country is in trouble. We just had a terrible, bloody weekend. We had a right winger went out and killed 22 people. We had a left winger went out and killed 9 people.
Right.
You know, I had somebody message me and say, you shouldn't talk about the political leanings of the leftists. That's gross. No, you're gross because you're trying to perpetuate the bullshit idea that the violence is only coming from one way and there's only one type of person that fits a profile for violence. Wrong. This do happening on the left and it's happening on the right, and we're not here to pander to any particular group.
Right.
Sorry. If you want, sir, a channel that's only going to talk about how nasty right-wingers are, you can go to MSNBC and whatever, and there's trillions of you. Go to TYT. Go for it. Because they'll never report on the political leanings
it's true,
it's ridiculous. Like, I'm not here to put forth your silly narratives. I shouldn't have called you gross, but we're not in a situation in our country where we can afford to play these games.
Right.
People are dying.
Yeah.
So here's Kellyanne Conway, and she tells us, hey, this is not going to solve problems. Beto O'Rourke telling Trump not to come to your city, not going to solve any problems. Trump talking about how much bigger your crowd was than Beto's crowd. It's ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you get the president.
That's very childish.
You got the president, you know, doing this big long screed against somebody who is not even on his level. But he couldn't ignore it because he's such a narcissistic egomaniac that he couldn't ignore it. He couldn't let it go unspoken. So he's adding more logs into the fire that is our country. And then you got Reza Aslan talking about these people need to be eradicated.
Jeez.
Now look, that's what Kellyanne Conway posted. Okay, this was Mr. Reza Aslan's response to her.
Oh gosh. You are the depraved evil. Wow. We need to eradicate. Whoa. What is this guy's problem?
She is the evil that needs to be eradicated.
Wow.
Not a week after all these people have been killed.
That's messed up.
You idiots. So somebody reads the MAGA hats, KKK is a KKK, we need to eradicate these people, and then here's Kellyanne Conway trying to be conciliatory and putting things out into the ether that's going to bring our country together, and here's Reza Aslan saying, you are what we need to eradicate. And you're trying to tell me that some unstable leftist is not going to see that and come up with some ideas?
Yikes.
This is why what Joaquin Castro did was actually, on one level it's funny, but on another level, this is not the time to be posting names and connecting them to Donald Trump and white supremacy. You're going to get people killed out here. I'm so sick of this. And now we're so bifurcated that when Kellyanne Conway, who's on the right, and I obviously have issues with her because she was instrumental in inflicting Trump on our country. I get it. But she's right here. But because people are so emotional and they're so bifurcated in their little tribes, you're talking about killing this woman. And where is Twitter? How is Reza Aslan still allowed to post on Twitter? These people on the left are constantly calling for violence to happen over social media, and the only attention we hear about is the white supremacists when they do it. This is ridiculous. And then now you want me to only report on when right wingers are being dangerous and crazy. Sorry. Now I will say right wingers are much more efficient killers and they're much more successful at killing because right wingers generally are, you know, hunting, ex-military, whatever. I mean, those are the facts. They're much better killers than left wingers are. But make no mistake, there are left wing killers. We just saw one in Dayton, Ohio. And this stuff is terrible for our country. What if somebody goes and kills this woman? This is the same thing I said with the Ilhan Omar stuff, where they were saying that she was trivializing 9/11, and I was talking about that right after the Candace Owens thing, and I'm like, you're gonna get these people killed. This is the worst one. Can you believe this?
No, that's just crazy. I can't believe that this guy hasn't gotten shot down. That's insane to me.
I'm gonna check on Twitter right now to see if Reza Aslan has been suspended.
He should be.
Because
absolutely.
How can you tell me? How can you say that this is not an incitement towards violence?
It absolutely is.
How can you say that? Here's Reza Aslan.
Wow.
And
still on.
No, as of 2 hours. As of 2 hours ago, he's still live on Twitter.
Wow.
You know,
madness.
This is absolute madness. It's evil. It's absolutely evil. And this is not where we need to go in our country. And aside from the fact that somebody might see this and do something stupid to Kellyanne Conway or the other people who he's determined are all in the KKK and evil all and terrible who need to be eradicated.
Wow.
This evil racist scourge must be eradicated from society. And he used the exact same terminology to apply to to Kellyanne Conway. And I just got to say, leftists, it's the same thing I said about Trump. Why did it take all those people getting killed for Trump to finally action this stuff? Hey, leftists, get your boy. How many people do you need to see dead before you guys start holding people like this accountable? You're going to get people killed out here. Same bullshit with Jussie Smollett when he went around and blamed the a phantom MAGA person who didn't exist. It was two African bodybuilders, one of whom he worked with. And you just get along with, get away with everything. Now here you guys go talking, and what really pisses me off about what he said to her was that she was trying to be conciliatory.
I know, yeah.
And the comments below are disgusting from the people there. I don't care what she did in the past, and I don't care what her political leanings are. She's right here. How is calling for her eradication going to help anything in our country? How is demonizing everybody who votes for Trump going to bring us together and stymie the types of active shooter situations that we're seeing? How is this response going to help us? See, this is the thing that pisses me off about these blue check people, because these people have security, they have all these things, they're in spaces where they're relatively safe. But it's regular people on the street like us that have to deal with the ramifications of their bullshit. Same thing with Trump. Trump's got the Secret Service, he's got layers, and he's got the Marines, he's got layers and layers of protection.
Right.
But when he throws out the term invader in a country that's flooded with guns, flooded with depressed people who are on the edge and completely crazy, and he constantly uses that term on a loop. He's gonna be fine because he's surrounded by security, but the rest of us aren't. Hello? But the hypocrisy of the left, I gotta tell you, it's infuriating to me. It's infuriating. If somebody on the right wing at Reza Aslan's level of celebrity would have said something like that in broad daylight, it would have been the end of the world, and this dude's Twitter account would have rightly been suspended. You know, I saw that discussion with Tim Pool and the Twitter lady. It was an absolute joke. She was trying to act like Twitter doesn't have a bias. Really? How is Sean King, how does he still have a Twitter account after stoking more violence? How does Reza Aslan have a Twitter account? And where is CNN reporting on this? It's infuriating. You people are going to get people killed. We haven't caught up to the ramifications of what social media actually means.
Yeah, but what that guy was saying, that wasn't even something that gets taken wrong. He said she should be eradicated.
Right. You are the evil.
Right.
You are the depraved evil we need to eradicate.
Yeah, that's not just saying something that could be taken wrong.
Right.
He was absolutely saying something violent.
Right. The first quote where he says the MAGA hats KKK, and then he puts all of them, everybody, and then he says this scourge must be eradicated. There's some wiggle room. You could say, okay, well, what he means by eradicated is the scourge of white nationalism or whatever. But there's no way. But a day or two later, he goes and says this about a person, and he says you need to be eradicated. So then, if you go back to the previous tweet, you're like, wait a second, bro.
Oh, yeah. So
wait, what do you mean? You're not only talking about ideologies, you're talking about people.
Right. Wow.
I'm furious because both sides haven't gotten it. They haven't figured it out. It is your rhetoric, your crazy rhetoric, Mr. Trump, that is fueling this bifurcation of our country and this conflict in our country. It's your rhetoric, leftist, Twitter. It's your suppression of conservative voices, Twitter, and your allowance of evil like this, Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, that is then foisting a bunch of anger and frustration on the other side. Silly, you're gonna get us all killed. Do you love your country more than you hate Trump? This is a serious question. Do you love your country and the people in your country more than you hate Trump? Because Reza Aslan obviously doesn't. Do you love your country and the security of the country more than you love Trump, right-wingers? Do you love your country more than Trump so that you can get to the point where you can hold the man accountable and start making the man pay some political prices for his incendiary language? Where are the right-wingers who are going crazy and angry at Trump and making him pay a political price, and it took 30, 50 plus dead bodies and 50, 60 plus injured Americans for him to finally say, we need to stop with the white supremacy. Why did it take you so long? You know why it took him so long? Is because he's not paying a political price for it. Because his supporters are sycophants who are not going to hold him accountable. And it's the same BS here. AOC can walk around and call the place a concentration camp. It's not. Go look at the Encyclopedia Britannica definition of concentration camp. It explicitly talks about the fact that detention centers for displaced individuals are not concentration camps. They're not. But AOC uses inflammatory language like that, and some idiot with his M4 and a Molotov cocktail goes in there and gets himself shot and killed. And we have to say, well, bless God, because if he was able to throw a Molotov cocktail, we've already reported on that, those people would have been killed in a horrific fashion. And nobody's getting it. It's this inflammatory BS that's getting us killed and driving us away from each other. And we need more people like Kellyanne Conway. I don't care if she's completely and totally repentant. She's right here. And what we need to do is continue to recycle positive messaging that's going to bring us together. We don't need this stuff. We don't need Mr. Castro using this as political capital, which is what he was doing. We need people that care about our country. Take a page out of Bernie Sanders' book, please, for the love of God. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm out of here. Look, y'all, it's up to us. These people in their ivory towers or whatever, they don't care about what's happening to us on the ground. They're not going to Walmart. They don't go to Walmart like me and you. They're not looking around at exits when they go to movies like me and you. They're surrounded by giant security details. So we can't leave it to these people to mend the rift in our country, because they obviously don't care. All they care about is power. We've got to take care of each other. We got to put positivity out there. If you're a Trump hater, say something nice about Trump. Put some good stuff in the ether, please. I just don't know what it's going to take for us to figure it out. The politicians still think that this is business as usual, obviously. Anyway, love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America.
We are the media.
Till next time, guys.